Somebody gave me this sentence, which I will, I would say shamelessly use again. They say diversity is not about being invited to the party. We have a slogan that we have coined for ourselves for Pakistan. We say we are in Pakistan since Pakistan.
Most of the sectors that we cover, there is a lot of discussion about artificial intelligence,
AI, it is one of those things, as we say, the cliche is that it is here to stay. Okay, whether you like it or you don't like it, it's here to stay, and it is here to grow as well.
What's the vision for it? How big is it, and where do you see it going in the next 2 to 3 years, say?
We are the largest oil and gas service company in the world, and we basically serve in almost more than 100 countries globally. We are very proud to employ locally as well.
A lot of companies talk about the fact that people जो हैं हमारे, they're our biggest asset and all of that, हर boardroom में इस तरह की कोई चीज़ लिखी होती है, but very few companies actually practice this.
The drivers did not lose the job of horse carriages. Those drivers lost the job who did not learn how to drive a car.
Yes.
So the jobs will still stay, but you have to upskill yourself. Ask your grandfathers if your father had a better education than them, and then look at yourself if you had a better education than your father, and are you able to put your kids into a better school than you?
Welcome to The Boss. I'm Amer Qureshi और आज हमारे guest हैं Zaurayze Tarique from SLB in Pakistan. Zaurayze, how are you?
Very good, Ji. Thank you very much for having me on. Really a pleasure.
No, it's our pleasure to have you. And so you work for this company and you're the CEO of SLB. Now, SLB was very well known but by another name previously. Could you tell us the previous name and brand?
Yeah, so we're almost a 100-year-old company, and the company was known as Schlumberger. It was started by two brothers back in France, and the legacy continued for a long time. And then recently, about a few years back, 3-4 years back, we decided to change the name from Schlumberger to SLB to align more with our new vision to work towards the balanced planet, move into the energy space from the oil and gas alone, and then of course be aligning ourselves to the environmental goals and the climate goals that we have set for ourselves.
Excellent. It's a large group. I was looking at your website internationally. Obviously, it operates virtually around the world. Headquartered in Houston, और पाकिस्तान की जो entity है is obviously part of the group, but it's not listed in Pakistan. मगर the group is very, very significant. I mean, the revenue is in billions and billions of dollars.
That is correct. We are the largest oil and gas service company in the world, and we basically serve in almost more than 100 countries globally. We are very proud to employ locally as well. So we have diversity both in terms of our nationalities, in terms of our inclusion of genders. So absolutely, absolutely a large company to talk about, and one of the oldest.
Yes, and Pakistan के हवाले से अगर बात करें, तो how large is the footprint in Pakistan, and how long has the company been here?
That's a very good question, something that I'm always, I take pride to talk about it. We have a slogan that we have coined for ourselves for Pakistan. We say we are in Pakistan since Pakistan, because our earliest log history that we have from Pakistan is at a well called Mial. At that time, it was Atak Oil that was drilling that well, and that is from September 1949. So essentially, we have been part and parcel of the oil and gas fabric, or the energy fabric in general in Pakistan, for more than 75 years now. And we have, I think, been partners in development, both in terms of technology and in terms of people. And today as well, as the non-resident entity of SLB in Pakistan, we are the largest oil and gas service provider for a diversity of our customers.
अभी हम आपके सेक्टर के बारे में बात करते हैं, but let's talk about the company itself. पाकिस्तान की जो आपकी entity है, what's the vision for it? How big is it, and where do you see it going in the next 2 to 3 years, say?
So again, a very good question, because Pakistan is a very dynamic market, right? I think if you look at the last 10 years history as well, whether you talk about the economic side of things, the policy side of things as well, it has been very volatile. So we have been able to ride the storm. I think if you look at the activity overall in Pakistan, from 10 years ago to now, we see a sharp decline in the activity. We see some exit of the international oil companies from the Pakistan oil and gas market as well. So in view of all of that, we had to stay resilient. We had to sustain a lot of pressure economically over the last few years, but we have managed to, I would say, look at the storm in the eye and managed to survive it. So we have grown. We are the largest oilfield services company. I would say we are at least 3 times the size of our competitor in the market. And we work now with a diversity of customers, and very proud to say that I think our footprint with the national oil companies has grown significantly over the last few years. And that is something that I think we look forward to continuing in the future as well.
So, agle chand saalon mein, if you look ahead, where do you see the growth coming? Because the sector in Pakistan, the oil and gas sector, has been somewhat, as you were saying, facing challenges, etc. But aage growth kahan se aayegi?
Again, dekhiye, Pakistan jo hai, it's a mix of things that we have to look at for Pakistan. I do not think that we have really qualified it as a totally exhaustive search for the oil and gas for the exploration side of things. Our frontier drilling activities in KPK and Balochistan in particular, in deeper reservoirs, definitely have to continue. We have seen some very good successes in North Waziristan, in Kot Palak areas, in Bolan, in Khuzdar areas in Balochistan. Some good reservoirs have come through. Recently, there was a nice announcement for Dhok Sultan as well by one of our customers. So we have to continue that push. Our decline rates at 8 to 10% mean that we do have to continue that push in the frontier regions. But at the same time, I think one of the areas which lacks current, I would say, focus is the brownfield development. We are sitting on large chunk of mature reservoirs where we do need to have a coherent strategy, and that strategy has to move from well to reservoir to a field level strategy to see how we can extract that last molecule of hydrocarbon. So that is for the onshore part of the business. The biggest fruit could also lie in the offshore part of our business, which is totally, very few wells have been drilled. I would consider it underexplored for sure. It does require financial impetus, it does require investment, but that's again an unknown, and I think that could hold a very nice big surprise for us.
और अगर पाकिस्तान के हवाले से देखें, where do you see your company being different from its competitors? Why have you been so successful? As you were saying, you've been able to ride out the storm. जो बीच में भी difficulties आई थी, macroeconomic factors were not very favorable. How did you survive this? And what's so special or unique about your company?
So I think three things. I think our legacy of multiple years in Pakistan allows us to manage the profile of activity that we have, our localized footprint, right? So we have almost 100% of our employment in Pakistan is Pakistanis. So that allows us to make sure that we are able to take some decisions different than our competition. And I think also the support of the international support that we have from our parent company, because we were able to show them that if we ride the storm, Pakistan is still a market to invest in, and we were able to continue that investment. At the same time, I think we are different in the sense that our scope of services that we provide are not just limited to a few business lines. We are actually expanding our footprint into midstream and downstream, strongly into digital, and also in new energy, geothermal, for example, right? We are the only service company right now in Pakistan who has expanded into that scope as well.
Okay.
So to engage into the wide space, I think, is one of the critical reasons why we still survive here.
So I think a lot of new ideas, innovation, and obviously being part of an international group helps you quite a lot.
It does.
In most of the sectors that we cover, there is a lot of discussion about artificial intelligence, From very simple jobs to more complex things, AI seems to be impacting on many industries. So, आपकी company पे और आपकी industry में कितना affect हो रहा है AI का, and how are you utilizing AI in your business operations?
So AI, it is one of those things, as we say, the cliche is that it is here to stay. Okay, whether you like it or you don't like it, it's here to stay, and it is here to grow as well. I also, when I talk to some people, there is of course a threat level. कि जी AI जो है वो jobs ले लेगा, we'll have a problem with that as well. One of the examples I gave in one of my recent talks was that there was, we were basically riding horse carriages, and then the electric cars came, or the cars came, the motor vehicles came, right?
Yes.
So the drivers did not lose the job of horse carriages. Those drivers lost the job who did not learn how to drive a car.
Yes.
So the jobs will still stay, but you have to upskill yourself. And I think this is where we need to make sure that people realize that AI in some parts invisibly is already part and parcel of your daily lives. Whether it is your iPhones, whether it is your electric cars, whether it is the automated vehicles, whether it is some of the operations that you do by checking your emails, some search engines that you use, it's already there. What we have to embrace is to use AI to improve the efficiency of our operations. One of the key examples I will give is that today अगर मैंने एक oil and gas prospect को seismic से exploration to production लेके डाना है, we are talking about years, right? So do we have the affordability as a country who is basically lacking energy resources to wait years to convert a prospect into a monetized resource? If I have to squeeze that time, I need to do multiple manual hours of work in a very short period of time. And it's just not humanly possible. So I have to basically use the technologies available to me, and AI and ML is one of the fastest growing technologies that can help me to squeeze. And we have examples of that in Pakistan as well, where we have used the AI algorithms to allow our customers to either detect the risks early, to do predictive analytics, for example, or to go from seismic to a prospect identification much faster. So this is the kind of, I think, examples. It is here to stay, and it is here to become part and parcel of every part of our flowchart. And we must upskill ourselves.
Must, as you're saying, embrace it. We can't sort of, after all the cars, we didn't go back to the horse-drawn carriages after the cars came through. But obviously, improvement aati gayi hai. Achha, let's change tack slightly and now talk about some other aspects of your business. Let's talk about the culture of your organization, because I love to talk about this. Most organizations claim to have a really good culture. Their culture is special, and it's one of the reasons why people should work for them. Aapka culture kaisa hai, especially in Pakistan? Agar hum organization ko dekhen, as a CEO, what sort of culture are you striving for, and how successful have you been?
So our culture, we are proud to say that I think one of the few companies ke jahan pe hamara culture is to embrace diversity. And when we say embrace diversity, it doesn't, somebody gave me this sentence, which I will, I would say shamelessly use again. They say diversity is not about being invited to the party. It's about being allowed to dance. Right?
Very nice
so
to
basically,
say.
Exactly. So I think we are very proud that globally 25% of our workforce is women, is female, right? So in Pakistan, we are pushing towards that target. We're not there yet. We are about 12%. Of our salaried population is women, and we are pushing in that direction. There are social barriers that we have to overcome, and I think as the CEO or the managing director, one of the jobs I had was to see how we can make it easier for our female workers, for example, to come to the office and provide their full support to our operations. There are things we have to manage, like maternity leaves. We have to manage the social, the way of living that we have in Pakistan. So one of the things we have introduced, for example, is flex working days. So Mondays and Fridays you can work from home. That allows our female workers to stay 4 days with the younger kids, with the families, and that has allowed them the flexibility to continue their jobs. Maternity leave, we have 6 months of maternity leave in Pakistan. We also have 4 weeks of paternity leave, which I think is one of the very few companies who's giving that also, because the fathers do feel the pressure, whether we want to admit it or not, right? So that's another example. We are working towards now making our workspaces, I would say, accessible to persons with special abilities. And we are working in that direction. And I think we will see some massive improvement in that direction by the end of this year and early next year. So I would say that is one thing which we are very proud of. Secondly, I think it's the inclusion of genders in our merit process. Our culture, where we have an open door policy, I think it's an open culture where integrity takes the front seat, whether it is financial integrity, whether it is ethical integrity. We discourage harassment of all sorts, for example. HSC, our safety culture, very proud of that as well, where it's zero tolerance towards our safety violations. I would not say that we have not had accidents, unfortunately. I think it's something that we want to go to zero. We are not there yet, but the idea is to continuously improve our safety culture, continuously improve our safety practices. So very proud of these things. I think, I always say that it's the 2 C's that I would like to look at. I can hire competency, but then I have to combine that competency with the culture, the second C.
Yes.
You cannot just have a competent person who's not aligned with the culture of the company, and you cannot have people who are very much aligned with the culture but are not competent in the job. It's the combination of the two that gives you a successful team, right? So we are hiring competent people, but then we are providing them the culture where they feel liberated, they feel they can talk easily, where they feel they can make decisions easily. They can make mistakes as long as they learn from them, and we can mentor them to grow forward. So those are the kind of, I would say, basic tenets that I think separates us from many companies that you see operating in Pakistan.
I think एक दो चीज़ें जो आपने कही हैं, which are actually quite impressive. The focus towards increasing gender balance. Because इस sector में आपका जो sector है, women are very much underrepresented. And we have worked with many women in the oil and gas sector, and they have many issues. Some that we as men cannot even imagine, harassment being one of them, even simple facilities and stuff they don't have when they go out of the office and on site. So a company which is focused on those things like maternity leave, obviously very positive. And I like the paternity leave. I mean, my son in Australia took a few weeks off when they had their son, and I thought it was a bit unusual, but he said, no, you're from a different age. Now it's normal. Let's talk about another area just पे बहुत focus है, and I myself have been doing a lot of work in relation to that, is ESG. Now, it's being branded as a new thing, but if you look at the basics behind E, the S and the G, वही चीज़ें हैं जो बहुत अरसे से लोग promote कर रहे थे. They were perhaps called different things, but now it's nicely packaged into these three things. So अगर हम E यानी कि environment के बारे में बात करें, how does your company deal with the protection of the environment, making sure that, you know, when you're working in this sector, you don't leave a mess behind अगर आप अपने clients के साथ काम कर रहे हैं?
No, it's a very good question again. I think again, matter of pride, you know, I would say that SLB, if you look at the logo, for example, of SLB now, it actually is the net zero logo that has been adopted as part of our logo. So that shows that ESG, the environmental, the climate change impact that we are having is part of our vision now. And as I was mentioning in the beginning, when we transitioned from the name Schlumberger to SLB, this was one of the core tenets of that transition. So if you look at our vision globally as well, we are wanting to now become the service industry which supports energy for the benefit of all and for a balanced planet. Right, so it's basically talking about making the energy accessible, affordable, available, but then in a manner which is now helping the climate not deteriorate further and improve as well. So the big question that comes, and I think this is a question that comes from the Gen Z a lot as well when we hire them, is about the oil and gas sector being one of the, I would say the evil demons of the climate change process, right?
Yes.
So one question that I ask everyone is that, okay, if there was no oil and gas 100 years ago, what will you be burning today?
That's a good question.
And the answer is you'll be burning coal, you'll be burning wood. Okay, so while oil and gas, when it came, it was not the cleanest of the energies, it basically did transform a much more uglier energy form to a better energy form. So now how do we take it forward from here? What we have to do is we have to look at the energy transition as the name suggests. It's a transition.
Yes.
There is no switch that you can turn on and off and say, okay, I'll go from 100% fossil fuel to 100% green energy in one night, right? So transition is going to happen. That transition has to follow these three principles of energy, which is it has to be affordable, accessible, available, right? So if you don't have these three as part of the energy transition, that transition will not work, right? So that is why in certain areas we still see coal being there and some other fossil fuels being there. So that transition for oil and gas means that every next barrel that I produce has to have a lower carbon footprint and a lower cost per barrel, right? So a lower carbon footprint, we can help as a technology company by doing a couple of things, right? We can actually, if I use technologies that makes your wells drill faster, right? So I'm now using less trucking, I'm using less engines, I'm doing less emissions. So just by employing technology to reduce your timeline for reaching your target and monetizing your product, which is the oil and gas molecules in this case, you are actually helping the environment, right? Secondly, I can have direct impact, which is basically our scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions as we talk about, which is where I can say, can I use solar panels where I was using gas engines, for example? So today, our office is in Islamabad, 100% solarized. Our base in Sakhar is 100% solarized. So we have shifted in that direction as well. So I think it has to come on the oil and gas sector from these two areas. And then we do have to transition. So in terms of transition, what SLB has chosen is to stay in the fields which are adjacent to our global footprint in the core business. So geothermal makes perfect sense because our resources that we use, the domain expertise that we use for oil and gas can be used to extract geothermal. I'm very proud to say that in Pakistan, we partnered with OGDCL and one of our private customers, UEP in the south as well, to do feasibility studies for geothermal in Pakistan, right? So that is a very positive news for us. We are also working to look at shallow geothermal or geoenergy as we call it for heating and cooling of buildings. For example, we live in cities which are 3 to 4 degrees Celsius in winters and go to 50 degrees in summers.
Yes, very, very big range.
Very big range, and that can be used for certain technologies that allow us to use heat sink and then reduce our overall requirement for the gas in the wind.
So it seems कि आपकी company बहुत focused है in terms
Very
of the
focused.
environmental part, which is the E of the SNG. Or you've already touched on the S part to a large extent by talking about how you're pro-women, for example, in employment practices, health and safety being a big priority. Let's talk a little bit about the governance aspect. Obviously, being part of a global organization, how is the governance handled at the Pakistan level for you?
So again, I think it will link back to the topic of integrity that I was mentioning, right? So essentially, being part of a global company, our standards have to match or exceed our global requirements, and they have to align with the local policies and local regulatory environments as well, right? So we are very proud of the integrity part of our business, right? So we ensure that we are, and for example, for us, data confidentiality is absolutely a must for us. Financial integrity and ethics is absolutely a must. We will win work, but we will win work fairly and squarely, right? So that is the kind of thing that we have there. And then at the same time, our internal policies, right? So those policies do not change depending on which country you operate in. Right. Those policies stay consistent, right? And those policies, then anybody who comes into the company, the first few days and months of that, I would say, we used to call it that we are turning them blue because that's the color of our company's coveralls and the logo, is that we are basically training them on what is the value, what are the values that we hold close to us.
So how is the organization governed at the local level? Do you have your own independent board or a separate board, or are you monitored or scrutinized, let's say, from the parent company?
So the second, so we don't have a local board because we are not really a SCP registered company in Pakistan. We are a non-resident entity of a global entity, right? So for example, I look after Pakistan and the buck stops at me for the oil and gas services and other divisions that we have, the new energy or the digital as well. And then I report to a geo unit, which includes Oman, Pakistan and Yemen. That geo unit reports to our Middle East North Africa basin, and then the Middle East North Africa basin reports to the global structure, right? So we basically have these three tiers of management and governance structure. And then as any international company, we have approval levels, we have exemption levels, we have requirements to seek approvals and to seek go-aheads for any kind of investments or any kind of contracts that we do.
Excellent. Okay. So let's talk about one more aspect of the culture we were touching on. It's the people part of the company. A lot of companies talk about the fact that people जो हैं हमारे, they're our biggest asset and all of that. हर boardroom में इस तरह की कोई चीज़ लिखी होती है. But very few companies actually practice this. For example, they don't spend enough money on training and development and so on. How committed are you to upskilling and training your own people?
Very much so. I think as I was mentioning the values that we have for the company, right? So our values, even through this transition, we went from Schlumberger to SLB per se, our values have changed in the last two of our values, but the first value has stayed as people. Mm-hmm. So people first has been our notion from day one. And that is something that we practically demonstrate that. So the way we demonstrate it is by, like I was mentioning, in Pakistan, almost 100% of our employment is Pakistanis, right? And this means that we are able to train them locally to export them outside. A lot of Pakistanis today are in. I'm an example of that. I'm a UET Lahore graduate, and I was hired. This is my first company. I was hired 26 years ago.
By still SLB, with the same company.
Still with the same company, and
amazing.
And that for me shows that the company has, basically the values that allow you to sustain employment in the company. And I've worked in multiple parts of the world after graduating from here. This is my second time I've come to Pakistan to do my role in a local market. And that diversity has allowed me to develop into, develop my skills, develop my knowledge, develop my strategic innovation and intuition as well that I can use. But that is something which SLB takes pride in. So today, I have an equal chance of being promoted as any other nationality. When I go outside Pakistan, I'm not paid based on where I come from. I'm paid based on what I can do for the company. The training avenues that I have available to myself are the same. Now, there are certain challenges. Okay, those challenges are not linked to the company's policy per se, right? So, for example, there are certain regions where there are requirements for a certain language barrier that you have to have. Right? If I'm operating in South America, I would like to be able to, speak in Spanish or Portuguese. The same in Middle East in some countries at the lower level, especially. You have to be able to be fluent in Arabic. So being local helps us in that, right?
Yes.
We have started actually in Pakistan a very nice program, and I would like to talk about it if you allow me a few seconds on that. We call it the MTO program, the management trainee. It's different from the management trainee programs that we do have otherwise, where we hire engineers, take them through a 3-year training. When I came back to Pakistan, one of the first things that when you come back to Pakistan as a managing director, when you're employed from here, is that what can I do for the country? That question is always there in your mind. So I realized one thing when I was outside. Our engineers and technicians, technically very solid.
Mm-hmm.
But if I stand them up in front of an audience and say, sell what you can do, the soft skill part is lacking.
Yes, I think that's very true.
Right, and this is not only language, it's also about the method of talking, communicating, judging your audience, conflict management, change management, networking, organizational politics, all those kind of things. And also we were hiring as a company from the accredited universities, mm-hmm. which I think all multinationals hire from. So we thought, okay, fine, we have that standard program for hiring, but what can we do to make our program accessible to the colleges which are not at that level? And we give them a 6 months of internship where we basically train them into these soft skills. And then we let them go if they're good enough. Some of them we may offer employment, the other ones we let go. But now when they go, their LinkedIn profiles will say they have worked 6 months for a company like SLB as an internee. And even if they're not graduated from one of the top colleges, they will have better employability chance.
I think that's a great solution to a local problem, because for years we've been talking about the standard of education in Pakistan. And as you've said, the soft skill part is definitely missing. And even people who are mid to high level of management, they struggle with this. But actually imparting this level of skills and knowledge at an early stage in their career is doing both the individuals and country a big favor. So I think that's a great thing you're doing.
Yes. And we've had some good success stories. We started with 8 people. I think this batch that we've just started has 20. And we don't advertise it publicly, but the word of mouth has been very strong. We take 50% girls, and that's again part of our gender diversity targets that we have set for ourselves. We got over 1,000 applications this time. So that aligns with what you were mentioning in the beginning, right? That the younger workforce is eager to come to companies like ourselves. There is so much we can do. But if, in my opinion, if we are able to manage 30 to 40 kids every year whom we can upskill, allow them a better career opportunity, and also I think more than that, give them this vision that there are many ways to have a financially successful career.
Yes. Yes, and I think one of the things as we get older, we realize that, we can't sort of solve the whole world's problems, but even if you can help one person, 2 people, or even 30 or 40, the impact that creates in the society is huge.
Yes.
Because they have families, and then, they progress. They'll probably help some other young people and so on. And before you know it, the 30, 40 people is multiplied into hundreds, if not thousands.
Correct. Yes.
So that's a wonderful thing. Let's talk about one more area that I wanted to cover, is the sector that you operate in. How is the sector progressing, and where do you see it going? I find in my own interactions that some of the oil and gas sector companies are a little bit slow to embrace change. They're perhaps not progressing as quickly as they can towards transitioning to cleaner energy. They also seem to be lagging behind in the ESG part. This is just my perception. How do you rate the sector, and where do you see the Pakistani companies are currently placed?
No, it's an excellent question, and I think it's no secret. The sector is in decline. I think there is no secret about it, right? So when I say it is in decline, it's primarily because of a couple of things, right? So essentially, we have seen an exit of the international oil companies from Pakistan. And we used to have a different mix of customers 10 years ago than we have now, right? So that is one factor that has impacted, because when the international oil companies exit, of course, they take some of the expertise, the technical know-how, and the technology know-how away from them. And so our customer base has to shift. Secondly, we have seen our activity overall decline. Like if I look at the number of rigs that we were operating I would say, 10 years ago, we are most probably at half of that number today.
Okay.
Right? So multiple reasons for that, and I can come into that also. Thirdly, I think when you have a sector which is dominated by the national oil companies or more in that sector, the adaptation of technology becomes a bit more challenging, right? Because it's always this discussion about cost versus the technology, right? And the difficulty in selling a technology is that you have to sell perceived value.
Yes,
because the value will not be visible to you until you use the technology, right? So I have to sell a perceived value. Cost is right there on the paper. So it's very easy to make a cost decision, very difficult to make a technology decision. So what we are pushing our customers now is to come out with more techno-commercial models of hiring suppliers. We are willing to put our neck in the game. We are willing to say that we will take KPOs which are aligned to our performance. So do hold back some of our payments if we don't perform. We are fine with that. Of course, reward us more if we perform better.
Yes.
Right? It has to go both ways. We have to also look at integrating services, and it has to be more collaborative. One size does not fit all, and nobody has the magic wand to fix it. Right? So what we are pushing is, let us be your service partners, and in that sense, let's put our stake in the game. Let's look at putting bundled services contracts where we can say, let me give you a lot of services together, where I can take more stake in the game, I can take more risk in the game, I can take more performance chance in the game as well. And push me to reduce your days, push me to improve your efficiency. Yes. That's what we're here for, right? And there is so much we can do in discrete contracting. So I would like to see more of that push towards bundling and integration of services, coming together as a team. Don't look at me as a supplier, look at me as a partner, right? And that basically means that allow me to bring my technologies in where I can squeeze your number of days, I can improve your well designs, and I want to be your partner from pore to pipeline, right? So it doesn't stop at drilling. I have to improve your facilities so they are not shut down for longer. Or if I can put predictive analytics in your facilities where you can detect when the anomaly is coming, I can help you, I would say, inspect your pipelines. I can help you to make sure that you have monitoring on your pipelines. So a lot of those things can be done from pore to pipeline solutions, or when, as we say, source to sink solutions.
And how willing are these Pakistani companies to accept some of these new initiatives and new way of thinking and doing business that you're proposing? Because again, there is a mindset shift required to look at a supplier, a vendor as a partner, and also, take maybe share in some of the risks like you outlined. How open to these kind of ideas are these local companies?
It's a very good question, So I think, yes, we are lacking in terms of adoption of technology generally, but I think things are changing over the last few years. We have, for example, a customer in the north for whom we have provided digital drilling hub, which has helped them to drill faster, detect problems faster as well in the wells, improving their efficiencies. Another customer that we recently gave them a solution to provide some of the software as a service solutions which are based out of cloud. We have a customer where we have joined with a national telecom company to provide them software as a service solution. We are working for a customer in the southern region of Pakistan where we are working with them to even provide them a global digital transformation strategy. We've also had discussions with refineries to talk about a digital transformation, right? So it's all about not only talking about AI, but essentially changing the core fabric of the way you look at digital. And that starts from a transformative strategy. So we're working, I would say, across the breadth of the country with multiple customers moving in that direction.
Yes, and I think some of those systems and processes are not keeping up pace with the way things are going. I think that's a challenge.
I think you have to liberate them a little bit, deregulate and liberate a little bit to let technology come as a free flow. It make it easier for us to bring and hold technology in Pakistan.
Yes,
we are willing to bring it, but the activity levels have to justify for us to bring it en masse and to hold it in Pakistan. I tell everybody that technology has to be used like a campaign. It cannot be used as a one-off, right? Because you start learning as you adopt the technology to the field.
Yep.
And you have and push us. Say every next well should be better than the one before. We are willing to take that chance, right? But allow us to do it on a few wells so we can actually give you the full value of the technology.
Excellent. We've talked about a lot of things. Let's change focus for the final part of our conversation and talk about the younger generation of Pakistanis. Pakistan में बहुत सारे young लोग हैं. In fact, our population comprises mostly जो younger generation है, and that is the future of the country. You've talked a lot about your company. It seems like a wonderful place to work. If I am a young person watching this podcast, how can I get an opportunity to work with your company?
Okay, so, three things, right? I mean, number one, first of all, be open to challenges and keep all your options open. This is what I tell the young people when I meet them. The first 10 years of your career is all about experiencing, all about diversifying yourself, right? That does not mean you change jobs every 6 months.
Okay, yes.
But it means that if somebody says you are an engineer, but I want to hire you as a supply chain manager, embrace it. Engineering, for example, I'm an engineer. What it teaches you is analytical mindset.
Yes.
Break the problems into smaller portions and troubleshoot it individually. And if you fix all smaller portions, the problem will be fixed. You can use that methodology regardless of what you're doing, right? So we have had an example recently where one of our female engineers moved into supply chain organization. She just finished her master's from Harriet Watt in supply chain, and that transition is a good combination, for example, or going into HSC or personnel management. So don't, I would say, limit yourself to one silo. Secondly, of course, you have to score high in your college. I think because regardless of how I put it, the first filter will happen at the college levels, right? So because we don't have any other mechanism to judge the competency apart from a certain GPA level, right? So that has to be there. Mm-hmm. Then we have an interview process where we do check, like I said, the competency and the culture has to go together. Yes. And then we offer the employment. In SLB, of course, there are requirements where we have, certain areas where we are growing more than the other areas. So you will see more employment coming from those areas, right? So Pakistan is not the largest market for SLB. We are very proud that we have been able to support with thousands of talent coming out of Pakistan that has supported SLB globally. But the number of engineers that we can hire is going to be limited, right? So that is where I think, yes, we are one of the many companies who people strive to come towards, and we look forward to welcoming you. But it is not the end of the game as well. You have to stay open. You have to stay open to challenges, to options for the first few years of your career, and then the career will take you in the right direction, right? Financial freedom and independence will come.
Okay, yes. Okay. It shouldn't be your priority number one in any case, like you've said.
Yes.
So, at a practical level, अगर मैं आपकी कंपनी में अप्लाई करना चाहता हूँ for the next batch of recruitment जो आप करेंगे, especially अगर मैं university student हूँ, what is the process that I have to follow?
So, we have a website called slb.com/careers, and you go there and you have a number of options available, and those options actually include our MTO program as well, which we call the early career, and then there are some direct positions which are open, like our field engineers, for example, which we hire directly from the universities. So you go and you throw your CV in there, and then that CV becomes part of the pool. We have centralized recruiting. So our recruiter sits in Middle East and they get these applications. Every country submits their requirement for how many engineers I need, for example, for next year. And from that pool, based on certain criteria, for example, we have a 50% hiring of females as one of our criteria. We move forward. We have some specifications in each country that we also follow. So, for example, right now, we want to look at hiring female technicians. Okay. And that's a big, I would say, lack in the Pakistani society that we see. I went to a number of institutes and I said, okay, I want to hire a female electrician or a female mechanic. We couldn't find any.
Okay.
Because this is not a job profile that females generally look at. So right now we are working, and I've actually asked a couple of our customers to participate in also, where we want to empower some of our existing technical institutes through a program where we will take some females and graduate them from these technical institutes, and then some of them we will get on board, some of our customers will get on board. And I think in 3-4 years, you will see 40-50 females coming out as technicians. And this is something which will become a new job profile that females will be able to adopt.
That's a wonderful initiative, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we are very proud to say that one of our engineers we've recently hired in Badin, in Kaskeli, she's from the local area. She's a graduate of GIK, but a local area resident. She's our first maintenance engineer in Pakistan, right? So we have moved in that direction where she's of course going to the field, but she's also supporting us in the maintenance activity across multiple business lines. So these are the kind of profiles that we are pushing towards. We have HSC as females, HR of course, and supply chain. So we are actually shifting in that direction. Ideally speaking, we would like to hire more, of course, right? But it depends on how much activity we can sustain.
Yes.
If our customers are able to increase their activity, if the policies can be consistent, we have had some very good policies come out over the last couple of years, tight gas, wellhead gas sale policies. If offshore kicks in, if our frontier drilling starts bearing fruit, I'm sure that we can double our footprint in Pakistan over the next 3 years. And if that happens, I'm sure our employment base will go from the 600-700 people we have now to over 1,500 to 2,000.
That's wonderful. Hopefully that happens and creates opportunities for these young people. Let's finish our conversation, which has been a wonderful conversation, and thank you so much for being part of the Boss. How do you think young people in Pakistan, one piece of advice you could offer them, how do they get ahead? Because it's a competitive place. As you've said, we have a lot of graduates coming out of university, some from moderate universities where the standard of education may not be that great, but nonetheless they've invested time and money in getting qualified. How do they get ahead in what is a very difficult and competitive environment?
So I would say 2-3 things. Now, when I graduated from UET, there was 200 people in 4 sections that we had, power plus electronics. Okay. I went into SLB, Schlumberger at that time. Couple of other people went into SLB. Some went into ICI, some went into some other multinational organizations. Majority of our people did not go to multinationals. Okay, at that time as well. Some of them went to the US, some went to Australia, some went to Canada. Now fast track it. I'm revealing my age, but fast track it almost 27 years, and alhamdulillah, all of them are doing okay. Right? So if I look at that breadth of people, 200 people, some of them are part of the local oil and gas market, some of them are part of refineries, some of them are part of the electricity distribution companies. They're all, mashallah, doing okay. When we look at our WhatsApp groups, and the best part is that their kids are in better colleges and schools than we were. Yes. And I ask this question to all of the young generation that come to me. Ask your grandfathers if your father had a better education than them. And then look at yourself if you had a better education than your father, and are you able to put your kids into a better school than you? Yes. And answer majority wise, I would say overwhelmingly is yes. If that is the case, then I think the progress is happening. However, what is changing is the nature of jobs. Mm-hmm. Change is the new constant. You don't have now careers which will span decades. Yes. I'm most probably the dinosaur age where 27-30 years of career in one company. This is not going to happen in future. You have to embrace change. You also have to go and think outside the box that there are ways to be financially successful by upskilling yourselves, because skills most probably and not degrees will be the future. Yes. So, and if you are upskilling yourself and your skill is able to monetize through the digital media, for example, as a back office helper, in a hub, like we have for our well construction, phase in Pakistan, where we support projects from Australia to Tunisia. So if you are one of those skills that you have, it does not matter where your customer sits. And it does not matter what's the size of your customer, because you are actually selling your skill to a multitude of customers. And today's digital medium is allowing you to reach out to the customers like never before. Yes. So I don't think there is lack of jobs. There is lack of defined jobs, as we call them in statistical manner, but there is no lack of work. But you have to change the way you look at work. I see a lot of people now who are graduate supply chain, for example. This is an interesting discussion that I never thought we will find so many supply chain graduates. In fact, I did not even know that supply chain had become such a big area for kids to go and graduate in. Now we're getting supply chain professionals. I've met some of them who are working for US companies out of Islamabad.
Yes.
Right? IT was always there. Supply chain is coming up now. I know people who are architects working for companies in the US, designing CAD drawings and doing the second reviews and third reviews, sitting in Pakistan, charging hourly basis. Accountants, yes, all over the place, right? Yes. Bookkeeping, all those services. I know people who are executive admins for school systems in UK sitting in Islamabad, getting paid in pounds. So the nature of job is changing. So you have to upskill yourself. You have to be digitally visible, right? You have to be digitally knowledgeable. And then I think, yes, apply for companies like SLB, but don't let yourself sit idle.
Yes. So I think continuously improving yourself and skill set is the only way to go, because change, new technology, new things are coming up all the time. And I think this is a key message for the younger generation कि जितनी तेजी से change आ रही है, they have to be upskilling themselves. And if they don't, then they're not going to get the opportunities. Or jo local companies, and they're actually complaining about the fact that they can't find good people because they're all sitting in Pakistan working for international companies, like you've said, कि कोई dollars में कमा रहा है, कोई pounds में कमा रहा है, which is great for the younger generation. And I think that's where the opportunities will emerge. And we need to shift our thinking from कि मैं graduate करूँगा, मुझे नौकरी मिलेगी और मैं 25 साल एक company में काम करूँगा. That thinking has to change.
And I think also start thinking as an entrepreneur, right? So basically you start doing the skill yourself, you reach a certain size, you hire a couple of more people. Where we are sitting right now is an example of that, right? The idea basically springs from one person and then it grows into a 50 people company, reaching out to a mass, I would say, level of population, talking about investments, right? So this is something very clear example of how it should evolve, right? So get a skill. You are an engineer, you are a technician, you are an architect, you are a supply chain specialist, accountant. There are ways to make money, but once you start making money, you think about how do I move this from a single individual business to a company business. Think corporate level. And this is where I think, our MTO program, when I talk to them at the end, I say, listen, the skills you have learned, you will use them if you're working for SLB. But the most use of these skills will be when you start your own business, because you will know how to set up a back office, how to manage conflicts, how to set up a team, how to communicate, how to sell your pitch, right? So always think in that level, because future is going to be entrepreneurial. It's going to be pockets of excellence growing into, a company size where you will be employing other people as well, pulling them in. Some of them will move and spin off into new companies. That is the way I think it is going to go in the future. And it will be evolving and changing at a much rapid pace than what we have faced.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right. Zaurayze, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for making the time and for sharing some of your insights and knowledge. And as a thank you for coming, this is one of my books we're going to give you as a special gift. I hope you enjoy reading it. It's a little bit old.
No, thank you very much. I have to see if it is signed or not.
I will sign it for you.
Thank you very much. That is important because it's really a cherishable one.
Sure. Let me do that for you.
Please do that. Thank you.
But thank you very much. It's been wonderful, and I'm sure our viewers are going to appreciate the advice that you've given.
Thank you very much. Wonderful. Pleasure to be here as always. Really pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.